Hello, it's Adam Drummond here from wagawagga.tv. It's the online TV show about people, places and property, and today it's all about people because I've got someone who is an Aussie legend. He's played VFL for the Melbourne Demons, he's played Australian cricket as well, and in between he's on the speaking circuit, he's written books, he's on these web app things that he does everything, this bloke. I don't even know how he fits it into 1 week, and I'm talking of course about Max Tangles Walker. Max, thanks for being on the show, mate.
Awesome, Adam. Yeah, what an introduction.
Yeah, well, I've missed a few things out and I know that. But, mate, let's talk about the fact that you are a busy little beaver, because I know for a fact that you've written no less than 14 books. 7 of these are classed as bestsellers. Collectively, they've sold over 1 million copies. How do you fit so much into 1 week? But before that, I want to know, you write with a fountain pen the first draft of all your books, and people will be wondering, why would he do that when there's computers and he's so web literate? Or you could get a ghostwriter. Why do you choose to do it with a pen, for God's sake?
Well, I guess in another life I used to be an architect. I qualified in 1973. So I love thick and thin lines. I was coming back from England a while back, in the early 80s, and I had a voucher for about £100, and I couldn't buy any gear in Singapore. I mean, just gorilla size, they don't have that. So I bought myself a fountain pen, and I just love the thickness, on the heavy stroke and the light on the up. And I suppose I've written about 10 books longhand with that one Meisterstryker, the big black rooster. It's fantastic. The black ribbon of ink on rice paper, it opens up the creative gates. Now, and I feel bulletproof, when I write with that. If I lost it, it'd be like losing, several fingers off the end of my hand. But it's just an extension of me, and it just comes naturally. The idea of the iPad is terrific, but for me, creatively, this is the way to do it. You think a lot more when you write on paper than you do on technology, because you just tap it out and it looks right. But when you write it longhand, your frequency of language and structure, you think, whoa, that's no good. You screw it up, you throw it in the bin, and then you start again. So you're much careful. You think a lot more before you actually go pen to paper.
You don't just get out the liquid paper and ruin it with that. You tear up the whole piece of paper and then start again.
You got to do it that way. Yeah.
It's a work of art, Max.
Hemingway used to do it like that. Not that I would use Max Walker and Hemingway in the same sentence.
No. All us great writers do that, mate. And yet you use a fountain pen to write all of your books, or 10 of your books you've done, and people probably don't know this, and I was surprised because you've got a bit of I've heard people refer to you like a superhero. You've got this Silver Cyber Surfer as a title. Where did that come from, and why are they calling you that?
High-tech tangles. It's got a ring to it, hasn't it? Don't you reckon? I like the compression there. Look, I suppose, once James Packer came in and he culled out a lot of the shows on Channel 9, Wide World of Sports included, IMT, Jeff Jan's, Hey It's Saturday. Yep. I had to reimagine, what could I do next? How's the future looking? I haven't got a job on television. Both Wide World of Sports and the Footy Show for me, doors were closed. So probably 2 to 3 years went by, and I did a lot more speaking. And then 3 colleagues and I got together, and we created a business that's very much in the mobile phone space and the tablet, the electronic tablet, which is outstanding. So I got to fast track into that area, and for the last 4.5 years, I've had 1 foot over here in the old world and another foot over there. But to walk that bridge from bricks and mortar real world into cyberspace over here. A lot of people are scared that they're going to get shafted. Does this mobile technology work? But mobile web platforms and QR codes, every piece of paper that's got a QR code or T-shirt, you can turn it into a TV screen. Yeah. And why wouldn't you? And the mobile messaging, little Steven Spielberg messages onto a mobile phone and back-end analytics. Well, that's the short version. But it's pretty exciting. To be able to leverage your business today, how many different strings can you attach to it? It's not just a front door now and a calling card. You can add another 100 100 strings, and why wouldn't you?
I reckon you've got more in common with my cameraman, Grant Harper. He's into all these QR codes and apps and things like that, mate. We'll have a conversation afterwards, mate. Let's go from the future of cyberspace right back to when Max Walker started his sporting career. You were a Tassie Devil.
Yes.
I want to know, did you get into the Melbourne Demons because Tasmania is known as Van Diemen's Land? Were you attracted to the name? How did you get into the Demons?
I've never heard anyone make that association. I love it. Imagination plus association equals possibility, or linking the dots. But Van Diemen's Land and Big Max crossing Bass Strait on a Form 4. Norm Smith signed me up down in Taroona on the banks of the River Derwent. And that's beautiful, mate. I love your thinking there. But I did become a Demon. Yep. I barracked for the Saints.
Right. Because
all of the Tasmanians, the great Darryl Baldock and Ian Stewart, to name a couple, they were outstanding players from Tasmania.
But you changed that when you put the jumper on for the Demons, I'm assuming.
Well, St Kilda didn't ask me, so the only ones that asked me was Melbourne. And of course, I went across. And look, sometimes people come into your life and they'll change the way that you think and act forever. And I've got a guy named Norm Smith knocking on my door. He was voted AFL, VFL Coach of the Century, like Jack Gibson in terms of rugby league.
Yep.
This guy's knocking on my door because he wants me to come and play in his footy team. You got to go, wow.
Yep.
And then he put his arm around me. He said, Maxie, don't think that you're coming to Melbourne to play in my footy team if you don't matriculate. Very smart. So did I matriculate? Yes. And as he walked out the door, he put his arm around me. He said, young Max, I reckon you'll make it in VFL footy. No one had ever said that to me before. And I thought, wow, you got to give confidence to your young people in whatever walk of life that they pursue. But for someone like that, it just lifted me off the ground. My first 2 matches in the seconds, I had an aggregate of 3 kicks over 8 quarters, and then it took 4 weeks for my birth certificate to cross Bass Strait before I could play in the under-19s. But that's another story.
Mate, you were a top footballer, there's no doubt about that. In fact, you played, about 90-odd games in first grade, but for some reason you decided to pack it all in and you took this leap of faith and jumped into cricket. Now, why on earth would you do that when things were going so well in your football career?
Yeah, well, Adam, a lot of people think that I actually physically made a choice.
Yep.
Not the case. It was an evolutionary thing. I was playing footy, and then at the end of 1972, I was selected to play for Australia against Pakistan, and then I went to the West Indies, and we didn't get back till the middle of May, and I had an architecture thesis to complete that year. So I shelved footy.
Because you didn't have enough on your plate, so you thought, I'll do this architect thesis as well in between playing 2 sports.
But I was smart enough to think I can't do it all, so I shelved the footy, and look, at the ripe old age of 22, I never got back to it. So I don't think I ever peaked as a footballer, but gosh, what an experience to play on the MCG as your home ground, and have a coach like Norm Smith, my first coach, and then the crowds and the lessons that you learn in life or in cricket, like Steve Waugh might say, character over cover drives. I mean, you've got to put your body on the line for yourself and your mates, and it's a great sport, Australian rules footy.
But being a spectator now, more so watching, say, the cricket, as opposed to having played back in the 70s and when things were very, very different, how much has the sport changed to what you're watching now from when you were playing in it?
In footy?
Well, in footy and in cricket, they've both changed, haven't they?
They've both changed dramatically. Footy, it's a fully national competition now. There's 18 teams in it. There were only 12 when I was playing, and the game's got a lot quicker. They're more athletic. You haven't got your galloping gasometer, these massive hulking ruckmen that would just push their body and weight all over the place. Now they're genuinely magnificently highly tuned athletes. And in cricket, I guess if you couldn't run much and you couldn't field that well, you'd be stuck down at deep fine leg. And I was an expert at deep fine leg. I mean, no one could cover 40 or 50. Look, Yeah, I could tell you about a catch I took in the West Indies, and a lesser player wouldn't have got near it. I took it and acknowledged the rum and the crowd, and by the time I got over the roar of the crowd, Ian Chappell saying, get it back, was a no ball, they ran 5.
I remember that story, and you actually, I think you had that rum under an umbrella so Chappell couldn't see you, if I remember correctly. Mate, then all of a sudden you get into television, which I suppose is a natural progression for characters, people that are good in front of the camera, and you worked with the great Lou Richards for many years. Now, back then, television was different as well. So sports changed, but television's changed and people's attitudes have changed. It was not as much political correctness. No. There was a lot more on-air and off-air pranks. What's your favourite prank that you're involved in, either as the victim or the one that was pranking?
Look, there's lots of different circumstances, and the ones that you remember, when your trousers are around your ankles, you think it can't get any worse than this. But I actually pulled off a ripper. We're doing the Sunday footy show, of which I was the host and had been for a long time. In fact, even did the first nighttime footy show, and what a juggernaut that's turned into these days. Yeah. So I had all of these legends in their own lunchbox: Lou Richards, Sam Newman, Sam Kekovich, you had Dermot Brereton's there, Mal Brown. I mean, these guys were baby gorillas. They'd argue about the worst tie, they'd fight over the Lamingtons. And of course, any script was out the door 2 minutes into the show. So I'm probably 4 or 5 years into hosting, and Dermot Brereton was giving James Hird a spray, and I thought to myself, in cohesion and collaboration with the director upstairs, that we could have a bit of fun here. So I quickly looked at Dermot. I said, look, get off the bloke's case. He's won a Brownlow. He's a fantastic player. He's an ornament to the game. And, I've just had a gutful. I mean, I come here every Sunday and one of you just fires off, unsolicited to someone that you just shouldn't aim up at. So I've had enough. You can stick it up. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have had enough. I just got up and I walked off.
You just took your microphone off and walked off the set?
Yeah, and I said, Lou, are you coming? He's gone, no. And then the cameras panned down the panel and they're all... And then Sam Kekovich, who's always wanted to sit in the chair and host the program, and then all of a sudden the floor manager, well, Keke, come on, I'll read the order cue. He said, slow it down a little bit, just spinning over like this. And of course, they're all just, can't wait for a commercial break. What's going on? They're going back, and the cameramen were great. They just, these tight shots on all these heads. And I walked back about 3 minutes later and I said, sorry guys, I shouldn't have done it, but you've just been part of the great footy show Scam Cam, and Keke, move over, I'm back in the chair, and away we went.
Max Walker was punking people before punked was even around. I can't believe you're the first punkter. What's the bloke's name? Ashton Kutcher, I think, does it these days. Mate, look, I remember Max Walker, the cricketer, when I was growing up, and obviously on TV as well. Like, I'm in my early 20s, but I remember reruns. And of course, then you got famous all over again, and it wasn't even for being Max Walker. Somebody else made you famous. It was Billy Birmingham and the 12th Man. Now, I know you get asked this all the time, and I know the answer as well, but there's a lot of people who probably wonder, I wonder if these blokes actually like the 12th Man or if they're a fan of Billy. What's your take on it?
Look, I think Billy's fantastic. What a great talent. And I think he's won 8 arias for the 12th Man tapes. I mean, that's more than Johnny Farnham and Jimmy Barnes and Kate Sobrano. Yeah. I mean, this is just, it's amazing how many discs that Billy has sold. And look, Tony Gregg, God bless him, he's no longer with us now. He loved it, and Bill Laurie's become a cult figure now because of it. I certainly don't mind it. I love it. Richie Benno, not that sure.
Right.
No. Wherever you go, there's someone on radio, or there's a kid in a quadrangle, or someone that does a better Richie than Richie. And then Ian Chappell didn't like it very much at all, and so he
thought these blokes helped write the script.
No.
Billy.
Well, Billy, there's no collaboration in this script. Billy will sit down with a mate or two, with a slab of beer, and if it's Wide World of Sports or if it's cricket commentary, I mean, they'll make fun or Bill Laurie may say it's a little gem of a catch. I mean, over and over the same thing will come up. So they'll write that down, and if Billy can make his mates laugh, because your mates don't laugh unless it's funny.
That's right.
And then they'll write it down, and then they'll put it into a bit of a script, and then they'll tweak it up with the different voices, and that's how he packages it. But people think that there's collaboration between the... Not at all. No. The first we hear about it is,
I got it to you as a gift.
Well, I'd just flown in from Hong Kong, and we were doing a Saturday afternoon program with Kenny Sutcliffe on Whiteboard of Sports, and the message for me left at the hotel was, you're going to interview Billy Birmingham tomorrow. Yeah, you better have a look at the tape. It's suable. And I'm thinking, my goodness. So we every time Billy brought out a tape, we'd come in. In fact, in my last book, Caps, Hats and Helmets, I think I'm the first to actually write about the most famous 12th man on the planet, which is Billy Birmingham.
That's right.
We did a function together, for the good guys, and we spent an hour together. And at one stage, Maxie Walker was talking to Maxie Walker, and the language was in and out like you wouldn't believe it. But it was a very, very funny 1 hour that we spent together. But look, I reckon Billy's a fantastic talent, and what he's done for the humour in that genre. For Australia is just extraordinary. Everyone knows it. In fact, some people come up and say, Maxie, I love your tapes. I wish they were. I wish they were mine.
Yeah, get the credit. Well, you mentioned the late, great Tony Gregg, and I know you're an entrepreneur, but I read recently, Billy said this himself, Tony approached him very early on in the piece to make some money out of it. He thought there was a bit of money that could be made from the commentators as well.
Well, Greggy had something going in the commercial breaks all the way through, didn't he? I mean, he was entrepreneurial, and a lot of those bits and pieces, the memorabilia and all that stuff, he had it going for him. But look, I think Billy's played it pretty tight. He hasn't lost his licence, or he hasn't given any bits of it away. He's kept it very close to his chest, and probably that's a good strategy. But in today's world, somewhere, like I said, how many different strings, how many different ways can you put that out? Can you do it on video? Can you do it just on text? Can you do it on audio? Can you slice it up and promote it onto YouTube? Do a little bit of Instagram and Facebook and set up a couple of landing pages. I don't know, maybe that's going a bit quick for Billy. But Greggy was probably ahead of his time and could see that opportunity.
I can't believe how it just rolls off your tongue, all this stuff in the social media landscape. And we might as well talk about that, because tomorrow we're getting close to wrapping up. And I know, Grant, you've got somewhere to be. We're going out to dinner in a minute. But you're here promoting business in Wagga. Wagga City Council have got you down to talk tomorrow. What is it that Max Walker brings to the table for the entrepreneurs and the business people in town? Well,
I think no matter what our business or what we do in life, in today's world there's so much media hype and buzz that how do we stand out? How do you become right arm over left ear roll, or why do you hypnotise chooks or kiss crocodiles? And
that's a plug, by the way, for some of his older books, just in case you didn't pick up on the reference there.
I think most people probably got them for Christmas, actually, all of those years ago. Sorry. But there's a whole generation that haven't read them now. And so why not give them a bit of a go? But look, I think that, in a business sense, what I talked about is how to make yourself unordinary. How do you stand out? Or as Seth Godin might say, how do you go purple cow? And the challenges are going to be there. What worked last year is not going to work this year.
No.
As much as you like it, you're going to have to lift the bar and stretch your capabilities. So how do you do that? The challenges, whether they be from your competition, whether it's just in relationships and trust and integrity and honesty. I mean, they're big words in business and in life. You can't buy that stuff. You've got to earn that respect. And so, to use that as your DNA in business, I would be saying to people that, these are the sort of things that you've got to develop to make yourself stand out. And why not leverage technology today? The face-to-face, you'll never get better than what we're doing now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to communicate.
Yeah.
And the communication circle, 7% words. Most people think they got it. They got the text on the screen, but there's 93% still on the table. So why wouldn't you go body language and tone? You see an Italian and a Greek have a car accident, you know exactly what's going on, don't you? I mean, the arms going everywhere, the tone's going up and down.
And I'll give you a bit of a plug too, because you practice what you preach. If you go and check out Max's website, maxwalker.com.au, instead of just having text on the page, what you'll do is each section of the website, you'll come across Max talking to you and giving you stories and things. So you're practicing what you preach, and it's a good way to build rapport, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, every one of the businesses that that are out there that haven't yet made that leap into technology, the absolute least you can do is have a QR code on your business card. Yeah. I mean, I've got one on mine, and the moment you pick up your phone and just go zit, there I am. There's 30 to 40 seconds of me just talking. Now, imagine, and this is where I got excited about QR codes, how to hypnotise chooks. I thought to myself, my goodness, if only I could have had a QR code on the top of each chapter, and the stuff that I wasn't allowed to write back then when the old man pulled the chooks out of the tar and the two drumsticks were still, you can't say that. I couldn't write that stuff back there. But I thought, now if you do a piece to camera and each of those chapters and just expand it, and you can see the humanity in someone, when you do a message 100% to camera, it's someone you trust, you can see the humanity in the eyes and the face. And so, as a first step, second step, third step to a relationship that might actually open up into some business, I mean, you've got to have a go at it. I walked on to Darren Hinch one day on the radio, just very quickly, and and I've got a T-shirt on. I don't often wear a T-shirt under a sports jacket because I haven't got the body for it, but it's got a massive QR code on it. I've got it in there. And
Grant knows exactly what you're talking about. This is music to your ears, mate.
Darren didn't. No. So I've got that in there, and I walked in. He thinks we're going to talk footy and cricket, and I said, look at this. So that's a QR code. He said, what's a QR code? I said, give us your phone. And I got his phone, and I scanned my rib cage, and I've given him a T-shirt as well with it. He said, human headline, that's my website. I said, that's exactly it. I mean, we've just turned your rib cage, my rib cage, into a television screen. Isn't that fantastic? Now let's sit down, we'll have a bit of a talk about it. Yeah. And so therein started an interview on radio, and
probably a client for life as well. Is he now? How many of these QR codes has he bought off you?
I don't know. I got one for his mug, and he's not on radio anymore, so I don't know whether that one works. but look, he's a great Melbourne Football Club supporter.
Yeah, loves it.
But just in conversation, I mean, that's what it's about. Just ricochet of ideas. It's been wonderful to have a bit of a chat with you, and good luck with the movie too, mate. I can't wait to actually have a look at it.
I know for a fact you'll love it. And he's talking about Backyard Ashes. If you didn't recognise me from that, mate. One last question before we head out for dinner, and I know Grant's got to get somewhere, but every time we see Max Walker, whether it be a photo in the paper or on TV, you're always smiling, you've got this infectious laugh. I want to know, what is it that upsets you? Does anything make you angry? Because you just look like it's water off a duck's back.
Well, in the Irrigate commercial, anything worry you, Mr. Walker, batsmen and flies? Well, certainly batsmen used to irritate me beyond belief. But I suppose, I don't like prima donnas. I don't like people that actually, just act a lot more important than they actually are or deserve to be. And look, in sport and that, you can actually, there's a few of them in life in general, and you go, oh, give us a break, mate. I mean, fair dinkum. I don't get too angry about most things. Look, if I'm any more laid back, I'll be horizontal, I suppose. but I think the best way to look at least 50% better, anywhere is to smile. And if you give out a smile, it'll ricochet back to you. But if you frown, eyebrows down, storm clouds over the top, and you yell and body language is bad, you'll shut down the whole place. So as a communicator and in leadership, you got to go with energy. I mean, television's about energy, acting's about energy, and life's about energy. If you've got a flat battery, no one's going to want to know you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, mate, that's a beautiful note to finish on as well. Some positive advice from Max Walker. He's known for it. He's here in Wagga Wagga to talk to a whole heap of business people on behalf of Wagga City Council. And Max, I can't tell you, it's just such a privilege to have you on the show, mate, and thanks for coming on.
Mate, thank you very much. And as that kid in the Aerogard commercial used to say all of those years ago, mate, have a good weekend.
Yeah, that's Max Walker and Adam Drummond here from waggawagga.tv. It's the online TV show all about people, places and property. I'll see you next time.